Hi everyone, in this video we're going to go through how to do a general journal where GST is included. So we did this briefly in class. I'm going to do it again using these 5 examples. So if you're having trouble with it, watch this video, try these examples, and hopefully you'll have a better understanding at the end. So when we're talking about GST, we're talking about the 10% tax that the Australian government puts on sales and purchases of service and goods. Okay, so I'm just going to write this here because it will become important. It's on sales and purchases. Okay. It is ultimately paid by the consumer. Okay, so when the business is the consumer, they're going to get it back. And when the business sells things, they owe the ATO money. So in terms of journals, how we're going to do this, let me just grab a different colour pen. So on January the 23rd, we purchased a laptop computer for cash to be used for administrative purposes, $770, GST included. Okay, so in terms of us paying for that computer, it's straight out of the bank. So our credit is going to be cash at bank, just what we paid in the shop. Okay, now our purchase was a laptop computer. Okay, but there is GST on purchases, which means that the GST is going to go with that purchase on that side. Now, you'll hear me talk about GST payable and GST receivable. This is GST receivable because they've paid it, they weren't meant to, they'll get it back. But for the sake of not losing points over stupid little words, I strongly encourage you to use GST clearing on everything that you write to do with GST. Okay, so we have to figure out how much of this 770 is GST. So we divide that by 11 and we end up with $70 GST, which leaves us $700 laptop. Okay, so that laptop that we actually bought is worth $700 to our business. That GST will sort itself out at the end of the quarter when we do our BAS, and the cash at bank is just literally what you'd pay. Okay, so let's try the second one. Paid electricity account, check number 142. It's saying check, which means it's come out of cash at bank. And we pay that whole amount. You don't pay in 2 separate amounts with the GST separate, you pay it all together. We're then looking at purchases. So our purchase is electricity. It's an expense going up, so a debit, and GST clearing. So our GST is 1,100 divided by 11, which is 100, and our remainder is $1,000. Okay, so there's 2 ways you can remember this. You can remember it as sales or purchases always have GST with them, as in if the sale is a debit, then the GST will be a debit. If the sale is a credit, the GST will be a credit. Or the other way you can remember it is it's always going to not be the cash at bank or accounts payable or receivable, okay, because they're always the whole amount. So let's try the next one. Paid insurance account of 1,815 GST included. So our expense is insurance. We should be pretty comfortable with that now. We're paying it out of, assuming cash at bank. Yes, because it said paid. Okay, and we need GST in there as well. That's going to go in our purchase, GST clearing. So cash at bank is going to be the full amount. Cash at bank's going down, so it's a credit. $1,815, we take out the 165 for GST, which leaves us with 1,650. Not enough room there for the insurance. Okay, so at the end of the day, things like the insurance and the electricity, they're going to go on the profit and loss. And so we're just taking the GST out of it, so it's not included in our financial statements. Okay, we're literally grabbing all the GST and taking it out now so that we don't have a skewed view of how well the business is going. So this new office equipment, again, very, very similar. Our office equipment is an asset going up. GST clearing goes on all purchases or sales. Cash at bank will be over here. I'm actually going to need my calculator for this one. 1872. So my GST is 170, which makes my amount 1,700. Okay, so GST, where people get a bit lost is whether to make the GST a debit or a credit and whether it's receivable or payable. Ignore receivable and payable, just call it clearing. And one of two ways to remember. So it goes either with the sales and purchases or it doesn't go with the cash at bank. Okay, there's two ways for you to remember. So I've used those examples because there was only 2 questions in your workbooks. So you can do those in addition to these.